Hey everyone, welcome to Under a Vedic Sky. My name is Darinka, and today I'll be talking about the upcoming new moon in Aries. For those tuning in for the first time, this is Vedic Astrology, which follows the sidereal zodiac. This is based on the astronomical position of the planets against the constellations and the stars. If you'd like to learn more, there are plenty of free resources online. You can also book a reading or a consultation with me. I also write on Substack, long-form content and subscriber-only content, so you can find me there. I will be dropping the links for all of these in the description box below. And before I carry on into this episode, I am inviting you to my upcoming 10-week course on the Navagrahas, the 9 planets or the 9 dimensions of consciousness. This is a foundational aspect to astrology because without understanding the real meaning and significations of the planets, astrology will still feel confusing or out of reach. So it doesn't matter whether you're a student of Western or you're exploring or you're somewhat experienced with Vedic astrology. Understanding the planets will bring a lot more clarity to your astrological understanding. At the moment, the early bird price is running until the end of May. Course begins 9th of March. So I'd love to see you there. And please reach out if you have any questions. And as well, check the links down below for more info. So we have the new moon coming up in the sign of Aries, but right now this week is a bit of a gridlock, and right now we've got the moon with Rahu in Aquarius. The moon is in Shatabishak, which is Rahu's nakshatra. So you might have noticed that the past day and a half that your mind may have not been serving you very well. Maybe there have been some unfounded fears or anxieties, or just a lot of energy. Could also be very creative. Moon with Rahu tends to create temporary unsettledness and something unpredictable. But of course, this depends where this falls in your chart. Now, the moon is ruling the sign of Cancer, so Cancer people will be more affected by the lunar transits. Now, what's happening now as well is that the sun is at the very edge of Pisces. It's in Gandanta, and Gandanta is a junction between a water and a fire sign, so it shows a temporary knot and a situation that can feel stuck. Now, particularly if you're Leo moon or rising, this can be impacting you the strongest. So just take care over these next couple of days as the sun is making the transition to Aries, which is the best sign for the sun to be in. It's also the solar new year, so it's the beginning of a new solar cycle. The sun is exalted in Aries, and it's a sign ruled by Mars. The sun is the king, he's the leader, and then Mars is like the commander in chief. And it's also, connected to our energy and to drive and to our efforts. And so when the sun goes into this sign, our sense of purpose, our identity gets a big boost. And again, this is once in a year. Mid-April to mid-May is the sign of Aries. So if it's your birth month, then happy birthday. This is a wonderful sign for the sun to be in, and it is also representative of a new solar cycle. So this is definitely a week of new beginnings because the moon is going to be moving here as well, and it's the first nakshatra, which is Ashwini. Ashwini is connected to the horse-headed healers, who are actually sons of Surya, when Surya and his wife Sanjana were in the form of a stallion and a mare, and their union produced the Ashwin Kumaras, who are the divine horse-headed healers. So there is this quality around healing things swiftly. So you might notice a problem that you're stuck on today. A resolution could be coming after the new moon. Horses, it also represents that horse energy of the year where there's swift development, swift movement, and also greater energy and vitality, manifesting for you. Because like right now, the sun is in this transitional place. It feels like it's drowning. So there can be this, temporary sense of uncertainty or unsettledness. But you will notice that as the month progresses, that a lot more clarity, power, sovereignty, self-assuredness, embodiment, all that kind of stuff happens because the sun's sun is a life-giving principle, and so whenever it's weak, like when it's eclipsed, it's with Rahu, Ketu, and it's with Saturn, as it's been for the past month, when it's going through gandanta, or when it's debilitated in Libra, those transits and those qualities of time reflect a weakening of our vitality. And so if you're sun ruled, if you are Leo, moon rising, or you have a lot of planets in Leo, or you have nakshatras planets in the nakshatra, or the stars of the sun, then you will feel the solar transits. And, the new beginnings are, in a way, they're always happening. There are cycles within cycles. And with Aries, this is also about, really launching something, or initiating something, or taking action. This is definitely not an idle position. And, on another quality as well, Mars is about our courage to tackle adversity. And it's also about karma yoga. If the sun is connected to being the king, then, a real king, or, in an ideal scenario, is one who is at service, and at service to the people. It's a very big responsibility. So for the next 2 days, the moon will be moving through Pisces, and this reflects an ending of a cycle. But on another level, we have Mars, Mercury, and Saturn here. So it also reflects deeper cycles of ending, major situations or events in your life, or relationships, particularly because Saturn is moving here. And so we're closing doors, we're closing chapters, and letting go of old things. So Mars here is in Pisces as well, and this is the main event for the month. Mars and Saturn are not friends, and so Mars is the agitator, and he's also an unstoppable force, and Saturn is the immovable object. And so Mars is getting closer and closer to a big door that is shut. How are we going to deal with that? So this can be a metaphor for something that's happening in your own life. But remember, Mars can do well with Saturn. So the question is, is our ego getting overly involved? Are we trying to self-preserve? Are we kind of trying to prove a point? Are we getting all haunty or cocky about our position in things? This is where we may be humbled, because Saturn is the ground. So it also reminds me of that quote, you don't need to fall from horse to know that the ground is hard. But some of us need to fall from the horse and feel the hardness of the ground many times. So this is also a time to take care of on the roads, driving. There'll be other people. There'll be a lot of impatience, frustration, tension, arguments. Mars rules the signs of Aries and Scorpio. Saturn is ruling the signs of Aquarius and Capricorn. So you can see where that is in your chart. If you have those signs dominant, you may be feeling the pressure. This is the time to take your foot off the accelerator and let things be. And, the moon has Mercury has just shifted into Pisces, and this is where it's debilitated. So Virgo and Gemini folks are Mercury ruled. This means that it can feel a bit like a retrograde. So of course, with the sun in Gandanta, the 14th, 15th, and also around the new moon will be laggy, and, we can expect greater delays, with travel, transportation, because Mercury is unsettled. And Mercury will be here for about 3 weeks, and we'll also be going through that Gandanta transit. I'll be writing about this on my Substack, so you can get more details there. So, we have to just be aware that these cycles are happening, and there's a lot of unwinding, there's unraveling, there's closure, and also we're preparing to step into something new. The other thing is that we are also now in the Kalsarp Yoga again. Now, I'm not sure if I mentioned this in the previous episode. Kalsarp Yoga is where all the planets are in between Rahu and Ketu. So they're on one side of the axes, because Rahu and Ketu are exactly 128 degrees apart. And so today the moon has now moved to the other side of Rahu, and is now within the within, you could say, the serpent's grip. And so what happens is that events tend to intensify. Things can feel more karmic, more fated. Rahu and Ketu are the eclipse points. They are the eclipsy energies. And so that's what we may be feeling as well. There can be greater ups and downs. There may be greater uncertainty. And again, this can be good or bad. I mean, if you're used to intensity and you know how to ride waves, then you're not going to notice it so much. The whole point of astrology is to bring awareness and attention to what we are not looking at, or where we may be ignoring, or what we might be ignorant of. It's not here to punish us. I know people say to me sometimes there's always something bad happening. There's actually plenty of really great things happening, but it's all about how we're using the energy. And most of us don't know how to manage our minds or our lives. And so we do get caught up in these storms. Now, I'm not saying this, speaking as a kind of saint. I have my own struggles. I have my own ups and downs. And, learning astrology, having this language now and living with it, has really helped to transform the way that I move through the world. It's not to say that I don't feel things, but I understand why and understand what's happening. Remember, it's always a reflection. The microcosm, that's what we are, the microcosm of the macrocosm. And so working with astrology is working with yourself. You're working with your body and with your mind and with your energy. And again, so the moon, the moon reflects that mental emotional reality. It represents perception. And so when our mind is unsettled, like it is at the moment with Rahu, and then it's going to move with Mars, where it becomes agitated, and then with Saturn, where it might become frustrated, and then the moon will go through Gandanta on the 16th, where it's going through this kind of breaking point and breakthrough, and then it's fully immersed within the sun. We should take care. If you know that you have sensitive mental health, then this could be a somewhat a turbulent time. But again, mental health is really about practicing mental hygiene. And if we're not doing the things that help to regulate us, then it can be much harder. And of course, this world, there are so many things that make life hard: basic housing, affordability, and so on. But one of the things that I've been finding has been helping me is shifting out of acting like emergency. When you're walking around the house and you're doing things really fast, like you're always like in a rush, you're brushing your teeth fast, you're washing dishes fast, you're like quickly got to close this and everything. And that's just, especially women, puts our nervous system constantly on alert. Like your body is constantly flooded with cortisol. So I find that when there are these turbulent moments, everything has to be experienced and felt through the body. Coming back to karmic theory, we're here in the body to experience, to express, to fulfill our karmas and duties. And so what you're doing in the moment now is how you're living your life. And so coming, back into the body when you're feeling stressed, and be like, well, okay, how am I breathing? How am I physically moving through space? And I see this with clients so often. I'm a body worker and massage therapist as well. And the thing is about our breath. So many people come in and they say, I have anxiety, or I'm overthinking, and the diaphragm is completely locked up. This can also reflect, the unwillingness or maybe a fear and apprehension to take up space. I mean, if you really think about it, what happens if you let yourself fully breathe in your belly, let it get soft and, soft and jelly-like? We hold it in, we think we want a flat stomach. What happens when we just fully relax and let ourselves have a Buddha belly and really feel that diaphragm expand and allow the entire body to breathe? Notice how that changes your mental state. Remember, your breath is the one thing that's going to control and help manage your consciousness, because it's prana, and it is what invigorates and energizes our whole body. It's that pranic energy. And so when our breath can be regulated and when our actions can be regulated, many things can start to shift. So it's an ongoing practice. And again, the mind is a bit like a dog pulling you on a lead, but you are the awareness, you are the consciousness behind your thoughts, behind those impulses, behind the compulsions, behind addictions, and so on. And everything I just mentioned is what Rahu represents. It's the compulsive mind, it's the reptilian mind, it's the obsessive mind, it's the brilliant, creative, and innovative mind, but it is a mind that is not at peace. You see, that's why somebody said on the internet the other day, it's like, you better do all your creative stuff before you heal your trauma, because then you won't be doing it. And think about how many people are obsessively creative because they can't cope with their own reality. And so what would happen if we were regulated and calm? What quality would our art take on? What higher states of being or consciousness or reality would we start to express? So I guess that's an interesting thought. This is definitely a healing time, but it is perhaps a make or break time. It could be a crisis time. Pisces is all about facing our shadow in regards to addiction, suppression, anywhere we feel like a victim of circumstances, anywhere our boundaries have, been too weak or too porous. Every time we enable our own bad habits or those around the people that we love, anytime we say yes when we really mean no, all of those things in regards to space and boundaries and where we feel like a victim of life, all that stuff is being highlighted right now because April really is showing you what you can't ignore. It's the fantasy. Pisces is the it's an illusory place. It's a very, very spiritual place, and so it's not that the things aren't real, but they're idealistic. And that's what can happen with Pisces. There can be such high idealism that they're constantly disappointed by the reality of the world. And this could be really highlighted right now because Saturn is here, and it's also with Neptune. And so Saturn is bringing that harsh reality to the sign of Pisces and to all of those areas where we might have been living in a bubble, living in our idealistic reality, where we may be suppressing our emotions with alcohol or drinks or parties or relationships and romance and so on. And so this is really a time where we can integrate ourselves, where we can bring our dreams down and actually make them a reality. But we have to look at the things that we are avoiding. And so Mars coming here, aggravating Saturn could, bring some kind of a turning point in this area. But again, things are only a crisis when we're resisting the process. So when we can start to recognize, the situation as a learning experience rather than as, oh, why is this happening to me? But what am I learning from this? Then we start to shift into a greater sense of empowerment and ultimately sovereignty. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. And another reminder, I am doing my 10-week course. I'd love to see you there. I'm really excited to share about the 9 planets. There's lots of juicy stuff. We're going to learn a little bit about karma theory, and we're learning about the solar system and how the signs are connected to the planets and the karmic lessons, the core wounds of the planets, the different planetary states, the relationships with each other, and much, much more. So if you've been looking to start astrology, it will be a pleasure to share it with you. All right, guys, I hope you have an enlightening new moon, and see